How's it going, everybody? Evan from I Quit My Band, back in the reaction zone. And we're going to do a movie review today. Today, we're going to be reviewing the new A24 film, Backrooms. Directed by Kane Parsons, based on his YouTube series, which was based on a jpeg from 4chan. Backrooms tells the story of a divorced alcoholic furniture salesman who discovers an endless labyrinth of office space in the basement of his furniture store. More or less. Backrooms is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I watched one or two of the shorts and was really impressed by it, especially when I learned that Kane Parsons made it at like 16 years old. Especially at the time that I watched him, I didn't even know what Blender was or that you could film shit in it. And I was just wondering, like, how did this 16-year-old do this? Where did he find this maze of office space to do this shit? Then I found out he did it on a computer and felt like an idiot, but it's still really well done. I was also excited because I like the book House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, and it's kind of like if Backrooms was a book. So yeah, I was had a vague interest in liminal space horror and was interested that A24 would put down such a big bet on like a literal teenager. And I gotta say, good bet. This is a sick movie. I really liked it. I think it's a flawed movie, but the flaws are both like obvious and very forgivable. Let's start with the good. Everything that happens within the Backrooms is great. It's obvious that Kane has a great grasp on how to do that particular brand of liminal horror very well. We get two different flavors of the Backrooms. Sometimes it's in found footage, which is much like the YouTube shorts, and others they're filmed just like a regular movie. And I thought both were really effective, but I think I preferred when we weren't doing the found footage thing. The two found footage sections are excellent. The second one in particular is really well staged and has like 2 or 3 just like excellent scares. But the cool thing for me was watching how he filmed it cinematically. At times he's using symmetry to give you that like Kubrickian Shining feel, and then other times he's using all that negative space, and the whole thing just fills you with like unease, dread, and like this weird mix of like nostalgia and worry. The scale of the production design, how like the different rooms change vibes, like you know, a lot of it is that like classic yellow shitty 90s office space that you see. But then there's other parts where you're in like a public pool filled with cement, and there's just like this weird half remembered, half forgotten thing going on with the different spaces that they're both familiar, but strangely menacing. Like there's always just something out of place or a little fucked up. I think that's why the Backrooms originally took off, is because like we've all felt like we've been in that space. You don't know where or why or when, but you're just like, yeah, I've been there. It smells like shit. And like there's a musty carpet smell. There's just something about it. And I think that the cinematography reinforces that. The use of these like really wide lenses that give you all this perspective and like makes the ordinary feel uncanny. I thought it was well paced. I've heard some people feel like it's a bit long, but I didn't feel that at all. I felt like it moved pretty well. I think if there's an issue with the pacing, it comes down to story structure. When I said that the movie was flawed, and the flaws are obvious, it's basically that everything that takes place within the Backrooms is incredibly well done, and everything that takes place outside of the Backrooms is less so. The narrative outside the Backrooms is not bad, but to quote our friend Lars Ulrich, it's a little stock.
It's fucking stock.
It just doesn't match the level of care and specificity that the stuff within the Backrooms has. Chiwetel Ejiofor is great in this movie. I think he does a lot to add some humanity to this, because his character is kind of like stock 101 drunk divorce guy. He's driving to his ex-wife's house, drinking Jim Beam at the fucking in bed. You know, he's down bad. But he has a couple scenes where he's able to really emote, and it gives you a better sense of who this guy is. I think Renata Rensby has less to do than Chiwetel. Her character is saddled by one of my least favorite modern horror tropes, which is traumatic event that literally they spend every moment of their life thinking about. There's just something about horror movies when they want to add depth to a character. They just have something horrible happen to them at some point in their life, and any alone moment that we get with that character, we're 1,000 yards staring in the distance thinking about that one thing. There's even like a trauma totem that the character carries around through most of the movie that I was a little like, what the fuck are we doing? Really? Every day they're looking at this thing. Though it does become Chekhov's trauma totem, which elicited both an eye roll and kind of like, okay, I see what you did there. There is some clunkiness to the narrative as well. We kind of switch perspectives halfway through the movie. And when we catch up with Chiwetel's character, there's been like a big leap in their, let's say, mental state that I felt was a bit jarring. We don't really get a transition there. So yeah, narrative elements, the script, the characters, they can feel a bit conventional, and even more so when you spend like the other half of the movie inside of an Escher painting filled with monsters. I think I would have preferred a completely like experiential, surreal, nothing has to make complete sense, but we're going to spend as much time here and let kind of the logic of this insane space take over. Overall, though, I really like the Backrooms. I think that the horror elements work really well. I think everything within the Backrooms is worth the price of admission alone. I really love the mix of like Lynchian and Kubrickian surrealism. The narrative elements are functional. They're not the best thing in the movie, but they get you where you need to go. And I think overall, as a whole experience, it works. I think for a 20-year-old making their debut, where most of their films were made in like a 3D imaging program, this is pretty incredible. I'm going to go with a 7.7 out of 10. That's going to be a House of Leaves, the movie. Hell yeah. So what did you think of Backrooms? Did you think it's overrated trash? Do you think it's an underrated gem? Do you think everything I said was right because I'm very smart? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. I'm Evan. I quit my band. See you next time.